how would you describe what behavior analysis is to, let's say, your next door neighbor? Like, what's your elevator pitch?
Yeah. So I usually try to describe it as just behavior analysis is the science of behavior, meaning that anything that anyone does, thinking, feeling, talking, writing, whatever it is that you're doing in your day-to-day, we say can be looked at through a scientific lens. And the interesting thing there is there's a very individualized approach to really what is your goal, what are you struggling with or trying to achieve in either of those domains, and we can help you get there through a number of different steps. So it's this very an individualized approach to helping people with different areas of self-management or different areas of therapy or planning or prepping or goal setting. And it's really dependent on what it is that someone wants to do. So it could be I usually say that a lot of our work is in the area of autism, spectrum disorder, and related disabilities, but really the examples are all over the place. And it's really exciting. I know we'll get into some of those.
Yeah. Could you just give some examples, like everyday examples of how behavior analysis is used?
Yeah. So everyday examples, I'll do everyday examples, but also just really cool, weird ones where you're like, I had no clue that happened. And so we know it's about 85 or 90% of behavior analysts right now work in autism spectrum disorders and that sort of line of work. And the other areas that are really interesting, one of them that comes to mind is tag teaching with acoustical guidance. So it's just a very simple way to set up a audible noise that tells people when they're doing things correctly. And so this has been used not only in sports and helping train athletes and things like that, but also surgeons. So there's actually an NPR piece on how they're using this with surgeons. And part of that is we get so wordy. I feel like I do it on this podcast. Like you get so wordy with how you're trying to describe things and say things, right? Whereas they just found the simple procedure of rather than trying to tell people how to do it and when to do it, if you can cue when those things are happening correctly, you can get a lot of learning very quickly. And so there's a lot of little simple examples like that. One of them was about, 6 or 7 years ago now with the Ebola outbreak. There was this, I would say, like fear and worry from health professionals of when we come into contact with someone, we want to make sure we're providing services. This values conflict, right? But also the death rate and the contraction rate of that was very worrisome for people. And so there's a couple of behavior analysts that developed what we call a task analysis series of steps that was foolproof, really. At the end of the day, if you follow these steps, you would not be able to contract the virus and you'd be able to help people out. And it was one of those things where providing some quick analysis, training in those, and having the right connections, working hard to get it out there, it's now the World Health Organization's protocol. That's how things go. And so there's that one. And then I'll share, I guess, two more kind of everyday examples or cool examples as well. And so one of them is there's these issues, and it's relevant internationally. There's these issues as to how do you provide solutions when you might not have the same resources for what's been developed elsewhere. And so specifically like in Mozambique, there was a civil war and landmines that were strewn across the country as a result of it. And went as far as they put these landmines in educational settings and such. And so coming out of that war, there was a lot of demining that needed to go on. And the problem is they can take approximately 2 days for someone to clear a space about the size of a tennis court when you're going about with it looks like those big, bomb hazmat suits and metal detectors and trying to find things. And when you're talking about an entire country, it's centuries to be able to accurately and safely say that you're going to be able to do those sort of things. But there were some researchers that knew that rats had a really great sense of smell. The African pouch rat that was local to that area had a great sense of smell, was really perceived as a rodent, but they realized that they could train them to sense and smell these sort of things. They're light enough to where they won't explode the landmines. Mm-hmm. And so they could set up a system that would only take about 20 minutes to clear that same amount of space. So it would take a human 2 to 3 days. And so it's this really cool, I guess, rethinking because of the science, nerdy science stuff that sometimes you hear or you find on there that really isn't, I guess, important to the everyday person that's getting treatment. But there's a lot of scientists that knew the nerdy things that go on as to how those things work, how to kind of program and build solutions like that then can be trained and deployed out there. And so Mozambique's one where they're now a mine-free country. They extended that into some tuberculosis testing, as well as now starting to explore how to identify in places that were struck with, say, an earthquake, or there's a hurricane or something where there's a lot of rubble and there's a lot of sorting out that needs to be done. Teach them how to go out and find people that need assistance, so we can direct our, recovery resources a little bit more effectively. So there's these really weird things that seem like they do not connect whatsoever, but it's just looking at and understanding how behavior works.
You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.